Hi everyone. I'm Toby Turtle, the official mascot of STO Summit Spring 2025. We're excited to share the recorded sessions from the world's leading summit on security tokens and real-world assets. Now, let's dive into today's talk from one of our global leaders. Hey Augustine, over to you.
Now, let's welcome Elisenda Fàbrega and Felipe Donofrio from Brickken, debunking tokenization myths under EU law.
Hi, my name is Elisenda Fàbrega. I'm the General Counsel at Brickken, and with me here is Felipe Donofrio. He's the CTO, okay? And for today's presentation, hi, Felipe. Our idea is to debunk, okay, some tokenization myth of the industry. As you know, there are a lot of myths, okay, and the only manner to debunk them is with technology, okay, for that reason Felipe is here, and legality. That is my job. Okay, what we are going to talk about today, okay, we are going to analyze if real-world assets is a legal category. Also, if a token standard defines a legal status, and we are going to analyze smart contracts, okay, when they are or are not enforceable, and sometimes said, the fourth myth, that blockchain equals money laundering. Okay, first of all, as I was saying before, we are going to analyze, okay, the term real-world asset. Okay, first of all, it's super important to say that real-world asset, okay, is not a legal term. It's something that the industry, the commercial industry, we have created in order to compound several types of assets. Okay, for that reason, in order to analyze a legal category, okay, of an asset that is being tokenized, we have to understand, first of all, what asset we are tokenizing and how we are transforming it into their digital representation. Okay, in this case, just for you to know, in Brickken, okay, we have a platform that basically allows companies to tokenize, okay, to create their digital asset, their digital representation of an asset. Okay, in this case, maybe Felipe can showcase from a practical point of view how our platform is seen in this in relation to this.
Sure. Give me a second.
No worries. In the meantime, okay, I'm going to go to the other slide because please, Felipe, when you are ready, let me know and I stop. I don't know why it's not. Okay. And basically, I'm going to start talking about this also slide because it's very related of what Felipe is going to show you. Okay, and it's basically another myth that probably some of you have heard in the industry because it's commonly misinterpreted, that a token technical standard, okay, determines the legal classification of a token. Okay, this has been debunked, okay, by basically the sandbox, okay, the European sandbox of DLT technology, okay, that it has not, it's different from the pilot regime sandbox, okay, they are different. And basically what said the European Union, no, in these discussions with companies, they said in their first cohort, okay, they analyzed basically a specific technical standard, in this case, ERC 721, okay, and they said that technical fungibility, it's determined by this standard, but not the legal one, okay? They differentiated the technical fungibility and non-fungibility from the legal one, okay? What means that, or what basically is what we can take from this? I have provided here the screenshot of the guidelines that I recommend you all to read because it's not well known that there is a guidelines that basically interpret the law. Okay, these are the screenshots. Basically, what they said is a standard will not determine the legal classification. What will determine the legal classification is two things, as I was explaining before. The underlying asset that we are tokenizing. For instance, okay, when I'm saying asset, I'm thinking about, for instance, a share, okay? Because as you know, real-world assets, securities can be shares, okay? Is the underlying asset. If we can replicate it, okay, on blockchain, This is what we call digital twin, okay? If it's not possible to create a digital twin, in that case, we will have to analyze the digital representation. Therefore, with this, we can see that we have legal and technical understanding of fungibility. Okay. Now Felipe is going to share his screen.
I am sharing the screen. I don't know if it's visible at the moment. Can you see my screen?
Here we have what I was explaining before. Okay, this is our platform where you can create a digital representation, because sometimes when people think about what is a digital representation of something sounds, or a tokenization sounds really difficult to understand, difficult to have it in mind. But for this, for instance, we have created this platform, okay, in order it is easy for companies to create their digital representation. In this case, as I was explaining before, okay, about the asset, and the client can choose what asset wants to tokenize, we have here several types, okay? Equity digital asset that can include from shares to quotas, that is another kind of reliable asset that is not a security, that is really interesting to analyze. Debt, okay? Invoice factoring or fractionalization, or revenue digitalization. Okay, in this case, we have these several options in order a client can decide what they want to tokenize. Okay, as you see, we are a technological provider for companies. Here, Felipe is showing how he's going to.
So at the end, depending on the type of asset that you want to digitalize and tokenize, you can then set up the custom characteristics of it. It has how you want to pay it. In this case, you can pay with USDT, USDC, EURC, and then you can connect your wallet if you already have one or not. In this case, I'm gonna connect my wallet here. A second. Then you can define, example, the digital asset name, the symbol, the logo type, the company address owner. Then you can set this, it's going to have a maximum supply or not. It's going to have shareholders, or sorry, existing stakeholder. And then you can attach like the documents that represent or going to define these assets too. So in that way, you can place like the legal tokenization documents and the issuance or the subscription agreement, that depending on the type of document, you can upload it and attach it to the token itself through their metadata in a URL. So in that way, you can define these type of assets in a more granular way, because not all the RWAs are the same. So this is important to understand, and that is one of the things that usually we have more problems to standardize in any case. So in that way, you already digitalize your asset, your smart contract, as an equity asset. So that's all. At the moment, you have here your new asset already minted. So it's ready to launch your offering in any case. Yeah, if you want, we want continue on with the rest of the
Yes,
slides.
I'm going to share the presentation. If you can close the screen, please, because I think it's okay. As I was talking before, okay, what Felipe shown is not just that we can allow the creation of several type of tokens, okay, as we have seen, that we don't have to understand real world assets as they include everything, okay, the concept, because we can create several assets. And also, well, Felipe showed how we can do an issuance, okay, make an issuance. And also he said something very interesting, no, that was about the difference or the possibility to adapt to any asset, okay, in this sense. And what I was talking about before, no, about the standard, that we were talking about legal category of standards also, and here Felipe can help me. We have to understand, okay, we have analyzed the the standards from a legal standpoint of view, but also we have to analyze them from a technical standpoint of view.
I didn't see your presentation, Ellie.
You don't see it?
No. A second. No, now I see it. Okay, perfect. So at the end with the token standards is the big idea of the standards is to create these receipts between different players, so we can interoperate between the exchanges, wallets, etc. So that is what we did with the ERC20, the ERC7021. So there's the rules and define the interfaces that each of these players can use and how to integrate it in the different programs or dApps that the community is creating. So the one of the biggest problems that once you start working with RWA is the approach that is going on the standard for RWA, and is the approach as the one size fits all. Like this, we want to create a standard, and this is the standard for RWA, and that's all. But depending on the asset that you are tokenizing, have different needs that needs to be covered. So in that way, we need to create a standards that allow us to be more granular in how to interact with it, and at the same time be able to interact with the already tokens or players that we have that are already interacting with ERC20 tokens, ERC7021, and 1155. So that is the biggest idea through the how we can manage these new standards. In the case of Brickken, we deploy different type of tokens based on standards that already use it on the world, and with this approximation, we will be able to define like these characteristics that each of these assets needs, and then we are ongoing in working on create a standards that can be used as a universal RWA standard.
Yes, in fact, and related to what Felipe was explaining, no, how we adapt or how we replicate, okay, an asset in the digital world, okay, how we can take a share from the real world and we provide it with the same legal actions and functionalities. Okay, how we do that? We do it through smart contracts. Okay, of course, that as Felipe explained perfectly, we use the standard as a recipe, and then we adapt it with the smart contract and we create our specific smart contracts. Okay, in this case, and why is that? You probably ask, no? Because sometimes depending on the asset, okay, and also based on compliance needs, we need sometimes to put in place KYC obligations, okay, compliance AML obligations as it is a KYC. We need, in order to replicate an asset that in the real world is non-fungible, tools like whitelist, claimbacks, okay, all these tools are done through smart contracts, which gives us the third myth, okay, that is some people think or believe that smart contracts have no legal validity or they are not enforceable. Okay, this is also a myth, but we can say it between commas because it's a myth, but not at the same time. Why is that? Because it's true that a smart contract cannot be enforceable if it's not properly done or if it not replicates the same characteristics, okay, as a normal contract. As you know, in order a contract to be enforceable, it has to have an object, a cause, a consent, and also a part. Okay, two parts that consent to something, and they act according to it. Okay, if we create a smart contract that represents that, okay, and we, for instance, put electronic signature that provides that has been some intention of the parties, and also, as you have seen that Felipe shown us that in the platform, you can upload some legal documents apart from the smart contract. With all of that, okay, you will have a smart contract that has legal validity, okay, is enforceable. Of course, the issue or why this myth exists, saying that smart contracts have no legal validity or are not enforceable, is because the jurisprudence has not been very open to this. Okay, we didn't have cases related to smart contracts usefulness and validity. Okay, probably in the following years, with all the tokenization that has been around this couple of years, we will see that the judges have to say if a smart contract is legal valid or not. But of course, based on legal theory of law, a smart contract has legal validity if it's properly created. Okay. And also the fourth myth, and with this we are going to finalize our explanation. Okay, is a myth that makes for me it's very very funny because sometimes I hear people that say that blockchain facilitates money laundering. Okay, I understand from where this come from, but we have to understand that blockchain per se doesn't allow anything. It's people using tools that they have in their hands in a non-compliant manner. Okay, for that reason, providers and companies that provide tokenization services as software providers or as advisors, we have to be very careful, okay? And to understand what are the AML obligations that we have to comply with and follow them, okay, in order to apply it to technology. As we have seen and we have analyzed before, the European guidelines, for instance, are one of the main examples that we have to follow, not just the laws that are written, but as you know, in the Web3 space, okay, and the tokenization, we see there is a lot of gray areas or areas that has not been regulated because it's a very new environment yet. For that reason, we have to analyze these practical guidelines, as it is, for instance, the sandbox ones that I show, and of course, to be compliant with AML and adapt our platforms in order to provide it to clients or investors in a compliant way. Okay, I think Felipe here. Yeah. Okay, sorry, I'm gonna mute myself.
Yeah, in this case, we can with the platform we can use we can make an example of how this work. Give me a second to share screen. I think the problem is that we are like the same user here. Okay. Sorry. I'm sharing now. Perfect.
Yes, Felipe.
Okay, so in this case, what we're doing is I am creating an offering with this STO Summit demo token, and with our platform we create like a launchpad for this token, right? So what I want to do, I want to invest in this asset. So the first need that we're going to need is a KYC. For this environment, we have a very basic form where you add your information. For our production platform, you have a full verification platform as SAMSUB, where you get your liveness and all the other documentation related to that. But for this example, we are using this form. So in any case, you can use whatever KYC or KYB platform that you need to identify the user. Okay. One of the important things here is that we have to attach the wallet of the user that's gonna interact with your platform. In that way, we can process this verification. So what happened in this case? One of the characteristics of an equity token is that you need to identify the users that need to want to interact with your platform, with your token. So with the KYC, you identify the user, you see if it's okay or not, and then what you can do is allows them through the smart contract. So it's not only for the client interface, it's through the blockchain interface or the smart contract interface in that case. So I kind of have to connect. So now you can see this user that is Felipe, and I can identify him. So what happened in this stage that we already have a ID related with a wallet address. So what happened now is that this address that right now is empty is completely transparent and now is related to a person. So it's not anymore an anonymous person. So this create that is impossible for this user to try to do something illegal with these assets, as is fully registrable around the blockchain. And now that is all these platform for obfuscation are penalized too. It's even more difficult to that. So you are still thinking that using blockchain for money laundering is like the most or the worst instrument for that, and the cash is still being the key on this matter. In any case, so right now we have this user that we want to authorize now, and now we can execute a transaction and allow this user to interact with my asset and be able to transfer and receive any type of dividends of it.
Thank you, Felipe. And with that, I think we have debunked, okay, fourth myth of the environment. Not just the concept per se of real-world asset, but also we have analyzed now how we can properly comply with AML and compliance laws, okay, and how this appears on the blockchain and and it is very clear that it is a myth, also the fourth one. And just our fourth myth, there are a lot more, but with this and the presentation, we close this session of legal and technical myth of the blockchain. Thank you.
Thanks for joining us at STO Summit Spring 2025. Stay curious, stay connected, and remember, the future is tokenized.